my words, a lot physics, a force that they can't stop. They just don't get it, I think they forget I'm not done till I'm on top. I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this. I believe we can write our story.
All right, everyone. Hello, how you doing? Half a day, Ohio. Good morning, good evening. All of those ways to say hello. Thank you so much for joining me once again. This is Words from the Wise. I continue to be the host of this podcast. My name is Gary Wise. You know what? Today we've got an exciting podcast, got an exciting guest on the show. One of the things I've learned throughout my life that as I move forward, doesn't matter what position I've ever been in, your communication has got to be clear. If you're not able to clearly communicate, the mission's it's going to fail. Doesn't matter how smart the plan is. If the team does not believe in the person delivering the message, it's probably going to be complicated. You know, in 2026, we're facing even more challenges in the world, especially when it comes to figuring out AI and computer generated, I would say, data and or information. There could be, unfortunately, a crisis of trust, and people, they just want to verify that what they're getting is actually real. It's my guest today, man. She's a global authority on this exact topic. She's coming onto the show from the land down under. In fact, she's coming out of Melbourne, Australia. She argues that the only way to lead today is by utilizing a term called story intelligence, which is something she's bringing to the marketplace. She's worked with global giants such as Amazon and Visa, and she's written 8 books, including her brand new #1 bestseller, Story Intelligence, The Craft of Authentic Storytelling Made Smarter with AI. And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome to the stage Miss Gabrielle Dolan. How you doing, Gabrielle?
I'm doing well, Gary. Thank you. What an introduction. I loved your introduction to the show, and excited to be here and talk about all things storytelling.
Let's go. You know what? Thank you for that. I worked real hard with my AI to put together that introduction. I'm not gonna lie. I love.
Well, I'm going to say, and one of the things we'll discuss, I use AI, but it didn't sound like AI. So you've done it well, where you've probably used AI to help, but made sure you didn't lose your own voice, which is a key important part of communication.
Very much so. One of my skills is, and you've probably learned this throughout your career as well, is I like to take the note cards, but then I will still essentially freestyle. I'll almost translate it again from what I wrote or what I planned based off of, just our brief conversation before I hit record, right? Kind of gave me a different sense of, okay, this is kind of how this conversation is going to go and the energy I wanted to bring to it. But no,
that's so true. Even when, I'm on a physical stage, and you always have to provide your speaker's intro, which I do, but the brilliant introductions when I have the chance to speak to the person who's introducing me, and we have a conversation, and they tailor it to make it sound more real and conversational and authentic, and they're the best introductions.
Facts. And that's my favorite part about doing this podcast journey is I get the chance to have conversations with people that are, I get to see the reactions. I get to kind of see, the head nodding or some of the things that keep you going through conversation. And just the fact that we get to have this chance to speak with you being in Australia and me being in Florida is an amazing part about being alive in 2026.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
The other part about this conversation that excites me is, truth be told, the reason why I started podcasting was because somebody told me to stop making posts on social media because AI was taking away thought leadership, and really nobody believes that the posts are mine because I could be just leveraging AI, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what this person said. And I said, I guess I get that. And I was already beginning to kind of play with the different AIs and figure out ways to have, I would say smoother workflows. And I thought, you know what? I like talking a lot more than I like typing anyway, bro. So I'll just start a video podcast journey. And you could probably take my face and now make it say whatever you want it to say with some computer program. But the reality is, anybody who cares to find out that this is really me, these are really my thoughts, and these are really my words. but there is a mistrust in the world and in the marketplace of people believing that leaders are not out there using their tools, their talents, and they're leveraging AI. And so then when I got your message and I kind of got your background, I was like, oh, she is right where she needs to be for the world today. Like, this is this is a prime location. Is how
Yeah.
land in this market space to come after AI.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. So I used to work in corporate Australia. I used to work in one of Australia's largest banks in, senior leadership roles, and predominantly at the end in change management roles. So when you're, when the organization's got this strategy or change they want to communicate, and we go out and talk to the business units. And that was the last couple of years of my role in corporate Australia. And that's when I started to realize that when I shared a story, people seem to get the message better and they seem to understand it. And so I started to think, I think there's something in this storytelling. I actually think it's a communication skill. It's definitely a leadership skill and an influencing and sales skill, but it's a skill. I kept coming back to, this is a skill. And in previous roles, I had done a lot of design and delivering of leadership programs. So I knew I could design and deliver training programs for leaders. And I just thought, I think I'm going to give this a go at storytelling. So that was 21 years ago. And Gary, like, everyone's talking about storytelling now, but it wasn't way back then. So that's what I've been doing ever since. I predominantly run training workshops. I do keynote speaking, and I've written books, as you've said. I wrote a book 5 years ago on storytelling, and it was my 7th book. And I really thought, I'm not going to write another book on storytelling. There's no, there's, as you would know, as a thought leader and as a teacher, there's only so much you can write about new stuff. But what started to happen a couple of years ago is that I would be in a workshop and people would ask me, will AI replace storytelling? And I was absolutely horrified by that question. It was like, no, like, AI will never replace our storytelling. And then I got progressively, people would ask me, can you use AI to help with your storytelling? And my initial reaction was like, no, that's not authentic. That's cheating. But it was my publisher, and I spoke with my publisher about this concept of a book around this. And she literally said, well, if you're the expert, you should be leading this conversation. So I did start to experiment. And so the premise of the book, so where I got to from here, the premise of this book, Story Intelligence, is in a world of AI generated content, our stories are needed now more than ever. And I truly, truly believe that. But as we sort of alluded to right at the start, you can use AI, but you just got to use it wisely and don't let it take over and control your voice. So that's the premise of the book. And also, as you mentioned in your intro, we are absolutely in a world of distrust. So all this fake, fake deep AI, fake. I don't know if you follow the Edelman report, but they produce a global report on trust every 20 years. And last year's was trust is at its absolute lowest in government, lowest in not-for-profit, lowest in employers for the first time. So when you think about it, we're in a world of distrust. No one knows what to believe. Is that AI? Is it not AI? Is it just fake? That our authentic stories are needed now more than ever.
Fact. I look at, I'm a believer of Jesus Christ, and I look at his ability to lead by using parables and stories, right?
Yeah.
I was a chief petty officer of the United States Navy, and one of the things they would always teach us would be to share with our junior sailors the stories of our experiences, because it not only showed really that we were relatable,
Yep.
but that we experienced similar challenges as to what they were going through. And I 1,000% agree that if I can hear a person's opinion through a relatable story, or even just help me to better see what I'm going through from a third party or from a different perspective, the story is almost kinder than just don't do it that way and I told you so.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not only kinder, it's more effective because they'll get it. So yeah, I love the fact that you often, when people sort of go, oh, is storytelling a fad? And I often I often go to, so Jesus and the Bible is a perfect example of that. You know, the stories that are 2,000 years old of parables, and I talk about the 4 different types of stories, and one is a parable, have delivered those messages over time. I also look to Australia's First Nations people, the oldest culture in the world, 60 plus thousand years, and their Dreamtime stories. These messages have passed down not 2,000 years, tens of thousands of years. These messages have been passed down, and the message has not been lost because they've been passed down through a story. So often when we talk to our kids, we probably use stories. There's a saying, Gary, they say experience is the best teacher, but storytelling is the second best teacher. And what you just described then, and what I no doubt what you do in your teaching role, is you're sharing stories to help them experience the lesson, but without having to go through the hardship of the lesson.
No, purpose. That is correct. And I just agree with you so much. And I was thinking about older generations of humanity across different parts of the world that would use stories to continue to tell about history, right? And then whether it's one of the things I dive into is the flood stories, right? And there's all these different flood stories all around the world of all these different cultures that all have similar storylines, and they're all just continuing to pass on knowledge and or information. And you know, there's a piece of it's got to be a piece of it's got to be faith, right? But there's almost always some truth to a story, right? It almost always started somewhere. And if you're a person who wants to be in the space of hopefully leading or guiding or mentoring anyone else in this world, then being able to communicate your story or an applicable story is probably very powerful and probably one of the most important skills you can build in that space, right?
Yeah. And I agree. I think what I'm about is not necessarily sharing your story, because I think a lot of people go, I don't have a story. I'm just normal. But it's what you just said. It's sharing an applicable story. So if I've got to give a message or communicate something or coach or mentor someone or teach something, or I could just be giving a presentation and I want to talk about innovation or integrity. What could I use a story to help with this? And parables, one story, and the other stories I talk about are personal, professional, public, and parable. And sometimes our personal stories are the most powerful.
And I wanted to get into actually those 4 categories you had. So what is the difference and how you compartmentalize the different stories? And in your book, did you kind of provide, in this latest book you wrote, is this where you really broke down those 4 types of stories? Or is this something you've been using for a while?
No. I put it in this book. So in several books I've written, in previous books, I've got a book on storytelling for job interviews, and I've got the 4 types of stories in there, but they're different stories because it's specifically for job interviews. And in my previous book I spoke about, it was like the 5 brand stories, but they're all about brand stories that you could use to communicate your brand. But this latest book, Story Intelligence, it's more general. It's not only for work, it's for personal stuff. Like there's a whole chapter on stories about if you've got to do a speech or a eulogy. And in fact, my dad's eulogy is in it because I gave the eulogy, and it's just story after story after story to communicate values. But the four types of stories I talk about in the book, and would it be helpful if I sort of went through them and broke them down?
Sure, let's do it. Yeah, I'm open to it. Yeah.
So they all start with P because I do like it when that happens. So it's personal and professional. So these are your stories. These are stories that have happened to you. Personal as in they weren't work related, so they're nothing to do with work. And the professional stories are that they are work related. So, for example, if you look at a job interview situation, for example, the vast majority of stories you're sharing in there are probably your professional stories, where they will go, tell me about a time when you faced a challenge or whatever. You could absolutely still use personal stories. So personal happened to you, not work related, most powerful in a work message. That's what I focus on in my workshops. Professional, and I'll explain them all, and I'll give you. Then I can provide a couple of examples if you like. Then the other stories are public stories. Now these are like almost if you could Google them, if you said, I'm looking, I can slightly remember this story about Steve Jobs and innovation, and if you Google it, you'll find the story. So they're in the public domain. Everyone has them. A lot of case studies are public stories, like well-known case studies. They can be effective, and again, I'm going back. You as teachers use them a lot to explain things, like a case study. They're good for that. The thing is, I don't get to know you anymore. So when you share your personal and professional stories, I get to know you a bit better. Public stories don't do that. And then the other story is the parable. And these are like, initially I had fables, and I was going, oh my God, I wish there was a P word that could describe fables. And I went, oh my God, parables. I was very happy that there was parables. And these things like the boy who cried wolf.
Right.
And you spoke about before, the stories in the Bible are often parables, where they're not necessarily true. Well, they're not, but they've come from some truth. So, and so I talk about those four. I provide examples of each one of those. What I might do is I might give you an example of a personal story, because that's the one that people struggle with the most. So parables, they sort of get public. Yeah, I get public stories. You just can find stories. Professional stories, yep, they're your work stories. But like, what do you mean by personal stories? Sharing personal stories in a work context. So let me give you an example. And then we can talk about it. So I did some work with a risk team. So I was running a workshop for the entire risk team. They wanted to communicate with more greater clarity with using stories. What the head of risk, her name was Rosemary, and Rosemary said, one of the biggest challenges I have is that when I talk about risk management to the business units I support, they just look at me and go, you're the risk manager, that's your job. And she said, it doesn't matter how many times I've told them I cannot manage your risk. All I can do is help you manage your risk. The behavior doesn't change. The message doesn't get through. She literally said, I've tried everything. I've provided example after example, case study after case study, and nothing's changed. She had tried everything except the personal story. So this is the personal story that she shares to great effect now. I'm going to share the story, and then I want to ask you 3 questions, Gary, after you hear the story. The story goes, when I was a kid, I grew up on a farm, and growing up on a farm, there was all these dangers we needed to be aware of, but Mum would teach us what to do. So we knew what to do when we came across redback spiders in the timber heap. We knew what to do if we had a potential traps in the dam after heavy rain, and we knew what to do if we ever came across a snake in summer. And I remember this really hot day, Mum was yelling me, get my bike from the front gate. So I ran down to get my bike, and then I just froze, because in front of my bike was this massive copperhead snake. But I remembered everything Mum taught us to do. So I played statues, and I slowly walked backwards until there was enough space between me and the snake, and I ran back to the house to tell Mum. And I'm sharing this with you because it reminds me of the role we play in risk. All I can do is give you the skills, knowledge, and advice, so when you come across your own copperhead snake, regardless of what that looks like, you will know what to do. Now, can I ask you 3 questions about that story?
Sure.
Does that story help you understand the role of a risk manager better and the role you play in risk? I mean, you probably know this message very clearly, but do you think the story will help you understand the message better?
Yeah, I think it helps you to understand better that they're helping you to identify risk.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately, yes.
Yeah. So it's helping you when you see the risk, you know what to do. That's sort of the message, not I'm there to help you with the risk, because I can't be there. The second question, and this I ask people, is do you think you'll remember the story?
Definitely.
Yeah,
what's funny is, as you were telling me the story, I was trying to correlate times in my life where my parents were telling me things to be careful of.
Yeah.
That was the memory that I brought up. I was instantly relating to the story.
Yeah.
Right.
So the reason you remember it is it's painting a picture, but you're thinking of your own stories. Like, like people, I remember first time I shared this in New Zealand, this woman said, oh my God, I related to that story so much. And we don't even have snakes in New Zealand. Like, New Zealand don't have snakes. New Zealand don't have any deadly animals.
Right.
So you remember it. So it helps you understand the message. So if you think about when you're communicating a message, it helps you understand the message. You're going to remember it. And the third thing, if you had to retell that story, like if you had to retell that story now to your kids or your students, could you retell it without losing the meaning? You wouldn't do it word for word, but could you just retell it without losing its meaning?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely,
So
yes.
when it comes to communication, now you probably wouldn't retell that story. You would probably, you've thought of your own story, so you'd share your own story. But when it comes to communicating, do people understand your message? Like really understand it? Can they remember it? So when the meeting's over, when the presentation's finished, when the discussion has ended, can they actually remember it? And if they had to, could they retell it to others without losing its meaning? And a story will help you do that. Too often in business, we rely on facts and figures and data, which is all necessary. I'm not saying it's not necessary, but it's not sticky and it doesn't help get the message across. So that's what a story does. It helps people understand your message, remember it, and therefore they can retell it to others if they have to.
All of that is very true. And I would say somewhere along the road, I'm not sure where I picked it up, but I was taught that whenever you start a public speaking opportunity, you almost always want to start with some sort of a story to kind of get people to be drawn in to what you're going to be talking about, or as to your authenticity or your experience or your ability to be considered an expert in whatever it is you're about to talk about, and they really want to pay attention.
Yeah.
And,
That's
and I
and
like-
that is the best advice. It's I'm clearly I do storytelling training, but I also do presentation training, and I literally say the first thing out of your mouth is start with a story. And sometimes it's the personal story where it really gets people's attention. Like, bang, you get attention. And Rosemary, in this situation, if she's got to give a presentation on risk management, the first thing she says is, when I was a kid, I grew up on a farm. Bang, tells the story. And then literally says, what I want to do today is help you identify all the copperhead snakes in your business. So it's sort of like now the copperhead snake's a bit of a metaphor for risk management that she'll weave through a conversation. But it is such a powerful, powerful way to start any presentation.
Definitely. Well, and so here you are now. You recognized. I mean, and you've been doing the storytelling intelligence piece for 8 books in. So
Yeah.
you're an expert of that space. And I am curious to know, when and where did you coin it as being SI, or storytelling intelligence, and why did you decide to contrast that versus emotional, and the other one was more like what, intellectual space? What
Yeah.
was it because I believe that's a very strong bridge, and it adds a different dynamic to those other 2 areas of intelligence. But if you can be trained in teaching story, or learning how to be an efficient storyteller and using it appropriately, you will be probably hard to keep up with in the leadership management communication space.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. We spoke about mentioned Steve Jobs before. There's a quote from Steve Jobs. He said, the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller, because it has the ability to communicate and, communicate with clarity. So we've touched a little bit on AI. I'm going to say, and so I'm writing a book, Story Intelligence, The Craft of Authentic Storytelling Made Smarter with AI. So I thought I am going to use AI as my creative partner in writing this book. I can tell you, Gary, of every book I've written, I've had a title in my head. It's never ended up being the title. So you have a bit of a working title, because when you then go to your publisher, it's like, no, I don't like that title. I've even had the last book I wrote, my Australian publishing team loved the title. When they worked with their US counterparts, the US people said, we can't use that title. We won't. It was like, because it had, different connotations. So the hardest bit of writing a book is coming up with the title and then the subtitle. So I used AI. So I was having all these ideas about what it could be, and then I asked AI to generate, this is the book I'm writing. Can you generate 50 ideas, for example? One of them was narrative intelligence. Now, I don't like the word narrative because I think people use the word narrative and story interchangeably and they're different. So to me, a narrative is like the overall arching message and then lots of stories to sort of, paint the picture of that narrative, I guess. So I didn't like narrative intelligence, but straight away I thought, if I put story, I really like story intelligence, and what I really liked that it's sort of like emotional intelligence, and I think, and what I loved about that is I think the very good storytellers have high emotional intelligence, and just as you can develop your emotional intelligence, you can develop your story intelligence. So that's where that name came from. And then I did the same thing to try to come up with a title. I was getting AI to generate all these things. There was none I loved. There was none my publisher loved. I just kept going back to AI, think of this. And I would ask other people and I'd do my own creative thinking. It was in the end, I went to a friend of mine who's a marketing brand expert and I said, can you help me with this? And she came back with about 20 ideas. And this one, The Craft of Authentic Storytelling Made Smarter with AI, straight away I loved it. And I sent them all to my publisher and they came back and said, we did a bit of a poll in the office and this is the one we loved. And so we all agreed that so it goes, and I share that story in that amount of detail is because I think it shows that you can use AI. You can change it like I did with instead of narrative intelligence, I changed it to story intelligence. And then in some instances, you can use AI, but the human that comes up with the idea is better. So, treat AI as one of your team members, not the smartest or the most important. Just as if you've got a team of 10, you would maybe ask them for their ideas, add AI, so you've got a team of 11, but don't default to AI because it sounds smarter or anything like that.
One of my funnest favorite parts about AI is it's always available.
Yes, that's true.
Right. It's just a convenient team member, and I was leveraging speaking into my microphone to the AI, but long before they come up with the speak features and all those other things, because I was just sick of typing and I had a lot that I wanted to get out of my head. And ultimately, I was just kind of like what you were doing. I was working through a problem and I was kind of just looking for something to throw back and forth with me, different ideas, and to find what's out there already in the world. And why reinvent the wheel if somebody's already done the work and I can just learn from their experience, learn from their story, if you will, and kind of get the information faster or more succinctly. Right.
Yeah.
And then it just unlocked all kinds of different things. And it could be it can be entertaining or it can be a very good tool when used wisely. And I like one of the things that you tend to speak about is you're responsible for the things you put in and what you give AI as far as what it's going to use to send back to you. But then ultimately you've got to be the one that says, yes, I concur. This is going to be my message or my storyline or whatever it is.
Yeah. It's not losing your voice. And there's a few things I'm seeing now, even like the book was published December last year. So it's only been out for about 4 or 5 months, but I'm seeing now, and if I could write a version 2 now, I'd add this to the book. We don't want to get, when it comes to communication, we don't want efficiency over effectiveness, because AI can help you be really efficient, but it's still got to be, you're still got to be in control of it. And you spoke earlier about your thought leadership. It's like, don't get AI to write your thought leadership. It's like, have your thoughts, actually do the thinking first, and then use AI to help you maybe broaden it or deepen it or challenge you and stuff like that. But you don't want to lose your voice. And I'm so strongly about that. Gary, have you ever read Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic? Have you ever read
it? I have not.
Yeah. So it's a great book. And it's a book around, she's a creative, and she talks about that whenever you go on a creative endeavor, that fear comes along for her. So fear's always there. And so she writes a letter to fear in Big Magic. So it's almost like you can come along for the ride, but you're never going to be making the decisions. And I was inspired by that. So I actually wrote a letter to AI in the book. Do you want me to read it? It's a pretty
Sure, let's hear it.
So this was inspired by Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic. I might just put on my glasses to that. I don't know it off by heart. So it goes like this. Dearest AI, creativity and I are about to go on a road trip together, and I invite you to join us. I will be doing my job on this road trip, which is to work hard and stay focused. And creativity will be doing its job, which is to remain stimulating and inspiring. There is plenty of room in this vehicle for all of us, so make yourself at home. But understand this. Creativity and I are the only ones who will be making any decisions along the way. I recognize and respect the supporting and valuable role you can play. So I will at times ask for your advice and suggestions along the way. But understand that I will always make the final decision, and I will always be in control. Don't take this personally, as I know you won't, because you're not a person. But I know sometimes while you are eager, you hallucinate. So sometimes you are wrong. You also come with some built-in biases, so we are not always aligned. So you're allowed to have a seat. You're allowed to have a voice when asked. But my dear friend AI, you are absolutely forbidden to drive. I will always be in control. And I think if you approach AI with that mindset, I always encourage people to write your own version of your letter to AI so you stay true to yourself in the process.
Right. It almost sounded for me like a vision statement, right? Like, this is going to be my true north through this experiment of leveraging this really cool, exciting new tool, fascinating technology, and this fun approach to the world. But I'm still going to not, like you said, I'm not going to give up the driver's seat. I'm not going to stand in front of somebody and say, I'm sorry, I didn't read that thing that I hit, send on, which unfortunately has been something that I've dealt with throughout my entire life. Plenty of people that I've worked with have taken somebody else's email, copy pasted it, and flipped it forward, and didn't quite read through what they were sending to me as their response. Right. And that was, an earlier version of what could have been some sort of AI or somebody else doing the work for you, and you not properly reading that information, coalescing it into your experience, into what you know, and then turning it into your response to the person you owe the information to.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Just when you were talking then, Gary, we Saturday night, I don't know what, it was on TV, the old Anchorman movie. Remember Anchorman?
Yeah.
And when she was trying to get back at him, someone said he reads everything on the teleprompter. Like, if it's on the teleprompter, he read it. And remember, he, signs off with, F you, Ohio, or whatever.
You're right.
And it, just as you were saying that it was like, he can't go, I didn't mean it because it was on the teleprompter. Like, you can say, oh, well, I just asked AI. But if it's coming out of your mouth or out of your keyboard, it's you. So you need to take control of that and not just that's what I mean. It's being lazy, but back to efficiency over effectiveness. It might be really efficient, but is it effective? And if you're just taking, like cutting and pasting and taking it, it's dangerous. I think what it also is, it's very dangerous.
Yeah, well, communication unfortunately has always been dangerous, right? And the way people can utilize part of the information, right? And maybe if you don't know the context, or you don't understand if you don't fully understand the message you're receiving, or if you don't understand, like we talked about earlier, in risk, and can you recognize the risk because you've been trained? If you've never seen a snake before and you don't know what a snake is, well, then you may not have that reaction that you need to have that's going to keep you safe from that snake. What if it's, not a deadly snake, but you don't know the difference between the two? That might be something that you're not prepared for. And then I think about, I'm a father. I have an 18-year-old son. I have an 11-year-old son, and they need to understand that ultimately the choices you make in life are your responsibility to be held
Yep.
accountable for. And I don't care who you did the thing with.
Mm.
Could they be in trouble with somebody else too? Sure, but they're not my kid,
Yeah,
right? They're not my
exactly.
son. You are. And unfortunately, once trust is fractured, it's hard to get back,
Mm.
right? And there is a fear. And and I think I'm a little bit less resistant to the fear just because I've been leading large groups of people for so long that I'm used to being misled. Like I'm
Mhm.
not surprised any longer when somebody brings me bad information. And that's
Yep.
why I always have to be the one that gets the as good as possible information. And I don't mind saying I'm sorry if I accidentally made a mistake, which I think is different than purposefully misleading somebody, right?
Absolutely.
But I will tell you that unfortunately, not everybody tries to do due diligence in figuring out the messaging or what they're trying to find when it comes to all the information. And then it bites them. It can bite them in the backside
Mm.
because it doesn't always flesh out. And when people think of AI, they think of this being readily available in the palms of people's hands. But then on the flip side of that, Google's been around for a while now. A search
Exactly.
engine's been a while for now. It just doesn't communicate the same way. I do think we as society are also like programmed to think that the robots are going to come take us over and they're going to take over the world. And there is I'm watching this TV series on Amazon Prime called The Expanse, right? And it's about outer space, futuristic, dystopian places where the Earth, human beings have migrated to Mars and on the asteroids. And there is a lot of AI being used in those films. And so I think that a lot of people just have their own misconceptions or preconceived ideas as to where this road could be going.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of fear there as well.
Yeah. And look, I don't think anyone knows where this will go. But when it comes down to using AI to help you generate content or with your stories, it's still got to come back to, is this me? Is this, would I take accountability and responsibility for this as it's coming out of my mouth? So yeah, I a couple of weeks ago I was filling out a form, and sometimes I use AI just as my spell check, even because I'm not great at spelling, even though I've written
Mhm.
8 books. And I put something in like, it sort of said, in a nutshell, what do you do? And I said, I teach people how to communicate more authentically through stories. And there was a bit of other stuff as well. And I put it into ChatGPT, and it came back and it said, I teach people to communicate authentically through stories that bridge the gap between impact and trust. And my initial reaction was, I don't even know what that means. But
Mhm.
but I could be thinking, oh, that sounds really good. So some people go, oh, that sounds good. That sounds clever, but it doesn't sound like you. So
Mhm.
don't use it. So yeah, it's always coming back to, does this sound like you? And if it doesn't, then if it doesn't, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like AI. And so because it is AI.
And not everybody, because I'll be honest, I wasn't, as you said those words, and especially through impact and trust, I am over here trying to translate it and try to understand it because I get into this kinds of conversation, right? Like
Yeah.
I enjoy these kinds of thought provoking, critical thinking. I teach high school kids every day, and I went from leading in a military organization to running. I mean, I was the Naval Base Guam Master Chief my last 3 years in the Navy through the whole COVID pandemic, right to
Mm,
a high school classroom working with 14 to 18-year-old adolescents. And my communication skills have got to be considered top notch on
yeah,
all areas, but it's not
absolutely.
always going to be critical thinking. It's not always going to be thought provoking. And so I like this is one of my favorite parts about podcasting, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
I get a chance to meet with people and have conversations that are not always focused around like grades and like who's dating who and so and so doesn't like me anymore or whatever it is. So when I heard that, and it was about me punching through impact to trust, I was like, well, that's a really important way to communicate how important storytelling is, because for me, it's about the impact is the result or the effect of what you've been
Yeah.
doing. But I know that without trust, there is not going to be any relationship between people,
Yeah,
right? It's
absolutely.
not a real one.
But see, what you've done then is you've taken what AI gave to bridge the gap between impact and trust. And I'm going, I don't even I wouldn't be able to explain that. What you've, and this is again, it's not right or wrong. You've gone, oh, that sounds really intriguing. What does that really mean to me? And you've reworded it in a way to say, to communicate in a way that has impact and trust, because both, so you've reworded, and that makes sense. But it again, so it's that's AI's prompted you to think deeper about that. Because you're right, it's to me about storytelling. It's about trust, giving you credibility, and about communicating with impact, which is in a way people understand and remember and actually get the message across. Gary, can I ask you, because you said this right in your intro, and I wanted to talk to you about this a little bit more, and it's based on this, because I often in my workshops say you can have the best strategy in the world. So you go into corporations and they spend months on coming up with this strategy. But if no one understands it, and if they can't communicate it properly, then what's the point? You can have the best strategy in the world. And I often say that if you're the one doing the communication, it's your responsibility that's understood, not their responsibility to get it. So it's your responsibility that they actually understood it, and just telling them is not communication. Until they've understood it, then it's communication. And I've had people tell me that comes from the military, that it's a military chain of command, that if you're communicating a message, but if it has to be understood before you can say I've communicated. Is that true?
So I would say yes, there's a responsibility for me to give you the training required for you to comprehend the message that I'm sending, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we teach very fundamental things when we bring people, when we onboard people into the military. One of the most important things we teach them is our communication styles. And I was a firefighter in the Navy for 16 years, and then I was a senior leader over large organizations for the next 9 years. And I will tell you that communication sounds great until you have a crisis, right? And then you add in pressure, and you add in fear, and you add in all kinds of extra gear that you're wearing over your face, and you can't properly communicate and breathe. And so then you have to rely upon your training for that to happen. And so I believe as a leader, especially a military leader, my number one thing was to teach my people so they could understand the communication that I'm going to give to them. But they have a responsibility to listen.
Yes, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
They need to turn their thinking caps on, and they have a responsibility. So I'll give you a story, right? Once upon a time, in a land far, far away named Japan, I was on board an aircraft carrier. And for the United States Navy, our aircraft carriers are nuclear powered. And in the country of Japan, they have a lot of sensitivities around nuclear and nuclear engineering, if you will. And so do we as a service. So our areas that the Japanese local civilians would be able to go into, they would not be allowed into anywhere that had sensitive information, right? And every year before we went into a maintenance availability, we would conduct training on the whole crew, 2,500 to 3,000 people, on these rules of not compromising sensitive information or locations by putting Japanese local civilians in places that they should not be. Because theoretically, for the most part, the Japanese people are just there to do their job, and they don't have any nefarious ideas or goals. But what if somebody did, right? And so the way to prevent that from ever happening is by never letting somebody into certain areas and carefully managing the way we did that process. Every year we do it. So then I get done with my 3 years on board this ship, and I'm the head guy for all the firefighters on board this aircraft carrier. And this is like 2013, so it's a long time ago. But I transferred to Virginia to be an instructor at another course. About 6 months later, I get a phone call or a message from one of my old people, and he says that he's in trouble. I said, well, what did you do? And he said, we let the Japanese people, the local civilians, into places they're not supposed to go. And I need for you to help me write a letter saying how great of a person I am and that this was a mistake. And I said, here's the deal. I'll write a letter saying that you're great, but you were all the way wrong if you didn't pay attention to the training that was given every year on this subject. And because really what he wanted me to do is write a letter that said that he could have possibly not known to prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
There's just no way I'm going to do that because I'm not going to compromise what I know to be true. Now, it could be true. You're in a room with 300 people not paying attention and dozing off in the background, thinking this is another run-of-the-mill meeting. But guess what? That meeting, they put out information that you can be held accountable to.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, right.
Period.
Right.
Period. Right. Yeah. And you took the paycheck, you took the responsibility, you took the rank, you wore it all. And oh, by the way, he's not a junior person. He's a senior person, which means you should be the one, you should know the rules so well that you should be given the training, my personal opinion.
Yeah.
And not calling me up because when I was there, that would have never happened. But not every leader has the same level of intensity, the same level of resistance to complacency, right? Yeah. Which are just default factors that we as humans tend to fall into when we become routine. And so I was underway on board my ship during the summer of 2017. I was on the USS Ashland out of Sasebo, Japan. Matter of fact, I was down in Australia during this time period. We were, I'm not sure where we were off the coast of. It was pretty sure by the Reef area. And one of our helicopters, an Osprey, went over backwards, and we lost 3 Marines off the coast of Australia. But it was during this summer we lost those Marines. We had 2 of our ships had major collisions, and we lost sailors, and just many, many incidents. And me and my leadership team every day would remind every other sailor, like, hey, we cannot let that happen to us today. Every day you've got to wake up purposeful, take every watch, every 6-hour watch like it's your first time. Treat it with that same level of intensity, attention to detail, because you could be the difference between life or death and somebody on the ship, because people not paying attention can cause you to slip, trip, fall, change your whole life. Car accident. How many people driving cars become complacent, and then all of a sudden, with the snap of a fingers, their whole world changes?
Yeah.
It's
complacency, isn't it? Like you're right. We're driving cars. We all know the rules. We all know the rules. And it's just that one moment this won't matter this moment. And that's when it does.
And it applies to this same conversation that we're having about AI and not becoming too complacent to the point that you are not recognizing that what you put it under your name, nobody cares what AI generated it, but you may lose people that believe in you. You may lose people that want to hear what you have to say, which again is why I started doing video instead of just continuously doing written things, because I thought, you know what, video is harder to, at least in my mind, to do consistently. Right? Doing a podcast, having a conversation, vice somebody who gets time to write out something, and not everyone always is going to read every word you write. Maybe they're going to pick out, I don't know about you, but I've become a lazy reader. I really have. I regret.
I think I've always been a lazy reader.
No. But Gabrielle, I regret sometimes my education because I trained myself to read to find the information that I'm looking for instead of just enjoying reading the thing, right? Yeah. And so when you were talking about public stories, I was thinking to myself, and that's why you should read as many books as possible, because you get access to all these other people's personal stories that you can then leverage in your life by communicating about this person. And a book is a great way to find some of those stories, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm just thinking about, when I think about this problem or this perceived problem, for me, it's not about trusting somebody or trusting who wrote whatever. I come to this place of, but I must do the right thing when I read the content to determine, do I think this is appropriate or not appropriate? Because you talked about it earlier about there's a mistrust in the world.
Mm.
And unfortunately, I think it's been there since the beginning of time.
Yeah, it
Right?
has. It's just got worse. It's got worse. And based on that too, I often have people in my workshop, and I always talk about authentic stories, and often people go, well, if it's made up but gets the message across, and they're talking about a personal story, not like a parable, that's okay, isn't it? And it's like, and people go, like I'll share that copperhead snake story, for example, and they go, that could be made up. We won't know. And I go, you can't control what other people do. If other people want to make up stories, I mean, good luck to them. I always say, why would you bother? Because your authentic stories are really powerful, and it's so much easier to use your own stories than make them up. But you can't control what other people do telling authentic stories. You can't control what other people do with AI. What you can control is what you do with it. So you can go, all right, I'm not going to add to this problem, and I'm going to, like my letter to AI, it's going to be my North Star that I am going to take control, and I am consciously not going to put stuff out there that's not me, and that I wouldn't take, accountability and responsibility for. So yeah, the distrust is there, and the point is, we're saying it's always been there. It's at its worst at the moment. So, why would you even make up a story? Because it's adding to that distrust.
Here's what I'll tell you about making up stories is one of the most difficult things about being a parent, being a spouse, being anybody in a position of responsibility and or trust. Consistency is one of the most challenging things. And if you start telling stories that are not true and not honest, you're going to probably start telling different versions of stories. And once people hear the same story, 3 different versions, they're not going to trust you anymore.
No.
Right. And I made a conscious decision a long time ago that I'm just not ever going to lie. There's just not time in the day. And I've got way too much going on to have to worry about when was the last time I might have told a fib, right? Or said something that wasn't all the way true. And another thing I've learned, and I've learned this the hard way, is that no matter what I say, I have got to be prepared to stand behind it at any moment. And if I made a mistake, I've got to readily accept it, own it, and ask for forgiveness if I wrong somebody, and not be so stubborn as to be just unapologetic. But I've actually been in close conversations with somebody, and not 15 minutes later, somebody else will walk in the room and ask me directly about that conversation. And yes, I had that conversation. And yes, this is what I said, because unfortunately, trust is just not always going to be there, especially if you're someone who's in the leadership space, because unfortunately, it's lonely at the top.
It is.
Right?
It is.
And
yeah, I was going to say, one of the things I talk about, because I predominantly work with leaders, is that when you share a personal story, and sometimes it's a personal story of when you when you did the wrong thing, and the regret you have and the lessons you learned, that can actually, and science shows us this, that can actually build trust. So if you tell me a story of, when you were young in your career and you made this mistake and, whatever, and it's like, first, so I get the message. But I connect with the story and the message, but I connect with you. And again, in leadership roles, it's sort of like, you've been there. It's almost like it's going, you're human. And leaders go, but I am human. I go, yeah, but when there's a power imbalance, it's good to know that's what stories do, to go, no, you're really human and you understand what I'm going through. And that's critical in leadership and parenting. For, I've got 2 daughters, Gary, one 22 and 25. And the stories I share of when they, like at their age or younger, it's sort of I'm not telling them what to do, but I'm going, this is my experience. And they're getting, I'm helping them by sharing my experience of this. It's like my eldest daughter is just going through a relationship breakup at the moment. And the best thing I can do is share her my stories of my relationship breakups when I was in my 20s.
And I think when you're vulnerable, it shows you're giving trust to them for your, this is where I'm weak a little bit, but I'm sharing this with you because I want you to be strong and to learn from my weakness. And I think that, like you said, that will build trust and that will build bridges,
Yeah.
and they'll hopefully learn something from the story you're telling them. I also think about when I was a kid, I'm 48 years old. So just for context for everyone listening, right? That was my generation. And in the 1980s, part of like children's programming and in the States, they would have like a cartoon show. Then at the end, there would be like a moral, like, this is the goal we want you to take away from this, treat others the way you would like to be treated or whatever it is, right? And
Mhm.
they would show you essentially a piece of that morality from the show. And they were trying to get you to get the message, right, from their
Yeah.
cartoon. And that's always kind of stuck with me as what's a good way to hopefully when somebody's coming to you looking for information, or if they're sharing, and if they're sharing a hard spot and they would like to hear words from you, because sometimes people don't want to hear, they want to tell you what they're going through and just tell you and not hear anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of my, being older, being a little bit more seasoned, there could be a perspective that can hopefully give a light through the end of the tunnel while also not rushing you through the process, because we've all got to go through our challenges in life, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
And
that's
that's how you do it.
exactly that's so spot on, because sometimes whether it's as parents or as leaders especially, we want to give the answers. And in this situation, there's no answers, right? What they want from you as a parent or a leader is that I truly understand what you're going through. And as opposed to just saying, I truly understand what you're going through, whatever. If you share a story as like, yeah, when I was 23, I was engaged and my fiance broke up our relationship 6 months before our wedding. And I'm telling my daughter that, she's sort of going, all right, so you really get what, like,
Mhm.
you understand what I'm going through. And
Yeah.
and then it's like, not only you understand what I'm going through, but yours was worse than mine. So
Yeah.
that's where stories can be really in those coaching and mentoring situations, because they're giving advice but without necessarily giving the answers, because sometimes that's not necessary to give the answers.
So before we start to head into our wrap up for today's show, which has been a great conversation, and I really appreciate that. When you wrote the book, when you published the book, what were you hoping? What was you hoping the reception would be, and are you getting the reception you hope to receive?
Thank you for that question. That's no one's ever asked me that before. My hope for this book is, I know I said my last book 5 years ago was going to be my last book on storytelling. I
Mhm.
truly believe that this is my last book on storytelling, and it's almost like 20 years of my career is in this book. So it's like everything is in this book, and my hope is that it gets to as many people as possible, because again, storytelling is just a day-to-day skill, but it is a skill. So that was my hope. I think the timeliness around AI, I was hoping that would make it more relevant. Um, and so, am I getting that reaction? Yes, absolutely. So, not only from people who are, total strangers that have read the book saying how much they love their book. I got an email the other day from someone who's preparing to do a TEDx talk. So, they don't know this stuff and they're using the book to help them prepare for the TEDx talk. Just down to, people saying, it encouraged me to share this story with my kids or, my team, and it worked. It debuted at #1 in Australia's business books, which I was very happy about. But the thing I was then really, I guess, helping me go, yeah, I think it's relevant and I think it's timely, that it reached #1 in 4 different Amazon categories. So like, workplace communication, even social skills like presentations and team meetings. So it's clearly resonating. And I said before that I don't read a lot of books, and I truly don't read a lot of books, and I start to read a lot of business books but never finish business books, because I feel business books there's a lot of padding. So
Yeah.
I write the way I speak, which the greatest compliment I get from people that read the book, they go, I feel like you were in the room reading it to me. So yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm proud of it.
Good.
I'm proud of it.
Well, I know how it is in the creative space that you put all this work into something and then you just really hope that people will appreciate it, will
Yeah.
take the time to share in it and will find value in it. And you know,
Yeah.
I really appreciate the work that goes into, I mean, 8 books. I mean, you're an old sage now at generating books, but I just and then I was seeing all the accolades you were getting for the book, and so I wonder if that's exactly what she was hoping for. So that's
Yeah.
great. All good
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
All
and
right,
it
so
is,
from
and it is, people sometimes go, "Oh, you probably get this a lot." People tell you how great your book is. I'm like, no, like, you know what it's like.
tell me
I
again.
think, I think some people go, "Oh, she should." I won't bother sending her a LinkedIn text or because she probably gets 100 of these a day. It's like, no, oh my God, if I did get 100 a day, happy days. But you'd love to hear them because you go, okay, it has made a difference. It was worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I can relate to that for sure. Okay, so I don't know. How do you end your podcast? Do you end it the same way every time, or do you just kind of wrap it up?
No, so my podcast, I'm with a co-host. So my podcast is called Keeping It Real with Jack and Ral,
Yeah.
and we're just normally bantering on and giving some final tips. And normally my podcast host Jack is bantering on. I go okay, and my producers go and wrap it up because we try to keep it to about 25, 30 minutes. And normally, not normally I say thanks everyone for listening. Don't forget rate, share. Spread the love.
Nice. So what I do at Words from the Wise is I ask a series of rapid fire
Oh,
questions.
I love rapid fire questions. It
Okay.
sometimes
And,
makes me a little bit nervous, but I love them. Let's
well,
go.
and these are not too complicated, but I'm gonna typically for my guests that are not former military, some of the questions I have to do a little bit of explaining for, but I keep them
Okay.
pretty consistent because
All
they
right.
are applicable to everybody. Okay, so the first question on the Navy ships for the U.S. on the Saturday nights in particular, it's always like a holiday. The cooks always are making pizza and chicken wings. It's a big
Mhm.
deal. So out of those two, which one would you rather look forward to, pizza or chicken wings?
Pizza, definitely.
Got it. Pizza. Good to go. Okay. Next question. So on the ship, we all sleep in a compartment called the berthing, and this is where all the bunks are at, and the bathroom facilities, and it's a great place to be because it's air conditioned and it's cooled, and the lights are turned down. And once you get the cleaning done, you might be able to sneak a nap, right? So a lot
Mhm.
of people like to have the job of going to clean the berthing. The other side of that coin is we have these parties called working parties, and this is where we send people as tributes, like in the Hunger Games, to go down, and they're going to have the music blasting, and they're going to be moving all the food on the ship, and seeing all the goodies that we're going to be eating. But it's a lot of hard work, it's a very loud environment, and it's probably going to be not as air conditioned as the berthing, right? If
Right.
I needed to send somebody, if I needed to send you to either the working party or the berthing cleaner, which one would you rather
I think the birthing.
have?
Is
Good
that
for
the, is that
you.
is that the one that's air conditioned?
Yeah, that's the one
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
air
yeah, yeah,
conditioned.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm a middle-aged woman, and like, air conditioning is good at my age.
I get it. I get it. Okay, berthing cleaners check. All right. In your life so far, have you have you had the chance to live in different parts of Australia throughout your life?
No, I haven't. I've literally always lived in Melbourne,
Okay.
even to the point where we changed house moved house about 3 years ago after being in our family home for 20 years. And we moved 3 kilometers away.
Okay.
So always Melbourne.
Right. So then I guess this next question would be, where have you traveled in your life that you thought was like the favorite vacation place you've ever been to?
So this isn't, maybe it's recency as well. You talked about Japan. We went to Japan a couple of years ago. Love Japan, and definitely will go back. But last year we went to Cape Town, and then we did a safari, and 4 days at this luxury safari where you're just literally waking up and seeing elephants right there, and that was I just want to go back. I could go back and do something like that every year because you're just literally immersing yourself. There was no Wi-Fi or very limited Wi-Fi. You're just immersing yourself watching animals, like just watching a leopard sitting on a rock for half an hour, and it was
Wow.
unbelievable.
What's the flight time like from Australia to South Africa?
Okay, so the flight time from Australia anywhere is long. We are very used to traveling long. That was it was 24 hours. So we went from
Okay.
Melbourne to Sydney, then Sydney to Johannesburg, which is Sydney to Johannesburg is about 15, 16 hours, and then Johannesburg to Cape Town. But we every time I go to the States for work, it's
It's a long one.
it's a long way. The
It's a
best
long
way
one.
now, you can go from, especially if it's New York, I can go from Melbourne to Auckland, which is about 3.5 hours, and then Auckland to New York direct,
Oh,
which is so much better than it used to sort of be Melbourne to LA, and then you'd have to do the big
yeah.
transfer to LA to New York, which was
Yes. All
not
right. Yeah. I understand. Me and my wife are going to Spain this summer for a trip, just the two of us. Since we've had children, right? We have never done a trip just the two of us,
Mhm.
and I kept our airline ships to a minimum, and then selfishly I kept them all in the States just because for me I have not yet been to Europe. I've done a lot of Pacific. I have not
Mhm.
done a lot of Atlantic, right?
Yeah.
But I definitely can relate to the States and the different airports and the chaos that can be there as you're trying to change flights. So
Yeah.
I understand.
Absolutely.
Okay, next question. When you're looking back on your life, what was the most challenging piece of education or qualification you think you've achieved throughout your life?
In regard to a qualification, I failed English in my final year of school by 1%. I was a pretty lazy student. I wasn't necessarily struggling academically. I was just lazy. So I never went to uni. I went straight into the workforce, and it was at my late 20s when I knew I wanted to get into training people. I did an associate diploma of education training, and then I did an MBA in management and leadership, and that was that was good, but it was challenging. And I spoke before that I write how I speak. I used to get my husband to correct my assignments, and he would just go, you can't write academic papers like this. He goes, you're writing as you sound like you're speaking. And I'm going, oh, and he goes, which is fine, but not for academic papers. And I remember
Right.
my thesis, and my supervisor said, you could go on and do a PhD. And I just thought, no, that would absolutely, the only reason I would do a PhD is so I could call myself doctor.
Mhm.
And I just said, no, that would do my head in. And then I thought, and that's why I love writing books as I speak. And that's the background to why that can be the biggest compliment people give me is like, oh my God, it sounded like you were in the room talking to me. I was like, yes, mission accomplished.
Right.
You can't do that in an academic thesis or PhD.
Right. Yeah, I tell people when you're going through a college education or somebody else's educational organization, you have to learn to meet their requirements.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't always get to be your requirements, right?
No,
And so
exactly.
that's it. Okay. One of the questions I ask people is if you could live in any other country besides your home country, where would you live? So if you could live anywhere else besides Australia, where do you think you would? Is there anywhere else in the world you'd like to live?
I'm going to say Japan, but can you ask me that in 2 months' time? Because we're doing a trip around the UK, and I'm sort of liking the sound of Ireland. And of course, Dolan is that's my
Right.
maiden name, but but we've done, both me and my husband have done our ancestry, and we've both come, like almost 70% from Southern Ireland. So maybe Ireland. I could go
So
to
am I.
Ireland.
So
Yeah.
am I.
Oh, yeah.
I did my DNA. I'm all from Wales, Ireland, Scotland.
Oh, yeah. No, well, we were like, nearly 65-70% from Munster in Ireland, which
Mm,
is like Cork in that area of Southern Ireland.
right.
So, yeah, it might be a bit cold, but that's all right.
Mm.
That's okay. I could
Yeah.
deal with cold now.
Well, I hope you guys have a fantastic trip. Okay, next question. Do you have a favorite movie or television series?
Ooh. One of my favorite movie you know what? My favorite movie is Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs. Yeah.
Okay, I
I
like
love
it.
Pulp Fiction, and I love the soundtrack of Pulp Fiction. In fact, our wedding song came off the soundtrack of Pulp Fiction. The,
Very cool.
you know, Let's Stick Together, that song.
Very okay. Would you rather be independent or on a team?
I do love being part of a team, like a sporting team, but, the fact that I've run my own business for 21 years, and I think I would rather be by myself. If I and you know what? I love running my own business by myself, but I collaborate. I choose to collaborate when I want to. So like doing the podcast, you know, with my co-host Jack and, you know, keeping it real with Jack and Raoul, that's a collaboration and I love doing that. But I also love 70% of my time being accountable for me. And if I don't want to do it, like sometimes I think of even myself, I think of these good ideas and I work through it and then I just go, and I might ask people about it. And then I just go, oh, no, it just sounds like too much hard work. Just can't be bothered. It's one of the benefits of getting older, Gary, is, you know, I can't be bothered.
I get it. I get it. And you know, and for leaders, it's always such a complicated question for us, you know, because we love to be team players, but we also like to be responsible for the team and be the one that makes the
Yes.
decision ultimately.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
do you have a personal leadership philosophy?
Um, I I have I love quotes, and so probably the greatest quote I lived, and I think it is with leadership or anything. It'll be all right in the end, and if it's not all right, it's not the end. So
That's a good one. Yeah.
I use that, you know, especially right now with my daughter going through. I just go, you know what,
Mm,
it'll be all right in the end, and if it's not all right, it's just not the end yet.
yeah.
Probably not specifically a leadership one, but it's a life one for me.
Well, I will tell you, as one of the things I've learned through life is to not overreact.
Yeah.
And a piece of that is not thinking that it's such crisis that look, no one's dying. If no one's dying, if we're not
Mm.
getting shot at, we can probably all afford to just relax for a minute and calm down.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
we don't need to start saying mean things. We don't need to start hurting people on purpose. Let's
yeah,
just like I love that if it's not all right, it's not the
yeah,
end.
yeah.
All
I
right.
have thought I have thought of a leadership one because I often tell this to leaders, and that's real leaders aren't perfect, and perfect leaders aren't real. So that's what I
Mm,
teach in my workshop. Yeah,
that's a good one too. That's a good one
yeah.
too. I like it. Perfect leaders aren't real. Don't
Real
be
leaders
afraid to
aren't
make a
perfect.
mistake.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so with the Navy, in the United States Navy, the chief petty officers in particular, we are like the senior enlisted leadership portion of the organization. So we're not officers, but we are the senior of, like, I would say if you look at the caste system, we're like the workers, but we're the seniority of the workers. And smart officers listen to us because we've been around a while, right?
Mhm.
And we have some guiding principles. I'm gonna give them to you, and I'm gonna
Yep.
ask you to pick which one of them most resonate for you.
Alrighty.
Uh, the first one is deck plate leadership because on our ships we have these deck plates that we walk on, and it's
Mhm.
just meant to be you're a leader that's out there in with the people doing things in front of everybody, right? You're leading them
Yep.
by example.
Mhm.
The next one is to be an institutional and technical expert, right?
Mhm.
So, not just knowing how to do your job technically correct, but also understanding the organization that you're a part of and how everything in it interrelates and correlates. And we need you to do both of those things equally well, right?
Yep.
The next one is professionalism, but it's not just like having a sharp looking uniform. It's about recognizing you're in a profession and you need
Mhm.
to take it serious, right? This is what you chose to do with your time, and we expect you to be professional with every part of what you're doing, right?
Yep.
And sometimes people kind of misunderstand that professionalism. They think it's just your haircut or just your shave, but it's so much more than that, right?
Yep.
Okay. The next one is character. And, really it's just you have got to, not have a say do mismatch. You have got to be a person whose honor is something that we can just, it's always going to be solid, right? Your
Yeah.
character cannot be without question. Next one is loyalty. And a
Mhm.
big one for us is you can't just, it's not about even loyal, it's loyal to the organization, right? Over more than anything. So even if it's the bad news, you still got to be able to deliver it. Even if you got to tell somebody something they don't want to hear, you have to say what you got to say. And so loyalty is the next one. And then there's two more there. The next one after loyalty is active communication, which
Yep.
means you're encouraging communication up, down, left, right, side to side, everywhere. Our job is to ensure the communication is happening. And when it's not happening, jar it loose, right? And get the communication running again, because we know that if communication stops, we're going to fail.
Yeah.
And then our final principle that we all lean off of is called a sense of heritage. And that is leveraging stories, leveraging our history to never forget where we've come from as an organization, right? Our Navy has gone through all these things since it was founded back when the United States first became a country. And we've
Mhm.
gone through all of these things, and we've learned a lot of hard lessons. Don't lose those lessons by not paying them forward, and then do your best to learn about the heritage so you can be a contributor to the, because part of our role is to be the ones that keep that heritage alive. We're the storytellers,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
We're the storytellers. Out of those, is there one that, you probably liked a whole bunch of them, but is there one that
I
you
did.
would pick to be your favorite?
Yeah. So you probably think I'm going to go with the last one because it's got storytelling in it. But I'm not.
No.
I actually, I think I'm going to go with deck plate leadership, but I want a character. The way you were describing character is like, almost do what you say and don't have a mismatch between. I think sort of sounded like deck plate leadership to me. So I'm going to do that. And then, if I could pick a third one, it'd be active communication. And the active communication would bring in elements of the sense of heritage. So I know that's cheating, but if I could only choose one, I would go with deck plate leadership. I think.
Deck plate leader. I got it. No, that's awesome. Yeah. I appreciate it. Okay, 2 more questions and we're done. Would you rather lead or would you rather follow?
Lead.
All right. Last question is, Gabrielle, do you have anything else you would like to discuss, or is there, where can people find you if they're looking to find out more about you, to get your book? What would you like to tell the people, the listeners?
Cool. Okay. So the book is available like globally on, Amazon, all the usual retailers. And I think it would be your best investment of $20 ever for your active communication. And our podcast is called Keeping It Real with Jack and Raoul. So every Monday we drop a new episode. It's all about career, professional development. It really insights. It's funny. There's a bit of swearing if you really don't like swearing. But my 92-year-old mother listens to it and she doesn't get offended. And we were never allowed to swear growing up, so it's not too much in there. And my LinkedIn's my biggest platform. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, and my website's GabrielleDolan.com. But yeah, LinkedIn is where I'm very active.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your insights and your wisdom with the world. I appreciate it. And I'll make sure I put all of that stuff in all my packaging as well, and we get the word out to everybody. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It sure has been. You take care of yourself down there and enjoy Ireland.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, y'all. You all know what to do. Please like, subscribe, and all the other things. Bye, Gabrielle.
Bye.
Bye.
And I know I was born for this. I know I was born for this. Don't care for the critics, my words are like physics, a force that they can't stop. They just don't get it, I think they forget I'm not done till I'm on top. I know I was born for this. I know